Australian transition has moved from a policy and investment challenge into what is firmly now a delivery challenge. Around 60% of our electricity on the East Coast is still generated by coal, and that is due to exit the market in 10 to 15 years. And at the same time, our demand is increasing dramatically. We have electrification, we have EVs, we have data centres, and broader economic growth placing demand on the system. So we're not just decarbonising, we're rebuilding an entire system, and that's under real pressure. And increasingly, the challenge isn't about ambition or capital, it's how we actually deliver generation, transmission, storage at pace and in the right sequence.
I think the other is, I just really challenge everybody to think about what are we saying to a broader market when we say energy security. So joining the social licence question to energy security, I'll say this as somebody who's had the privilege of being in transmission networks that are solely delivered for the purposes of clean energy for the last 18 years across the world, that it is easy for the industry to get very swept up in what we mean when we talk about energy security, to talk about the technical, which is legitimate, to talk about what it means in terms of certainty and for investors and for financial models and also for the engineering challenges for our networks. It's easy to lose sight of the fact that we have a whole community out there who is suddenly beginning to think about energy in the way that 30 years ago in Australia or 40 years ago in Australia we began to think about water. So energy security to them goes beyond at the moment, because of the global crisis situation, which none of us would wish on anyone, but it is opportune, now needs to go beyond the idea of my energy security is beyond what happens when I try and turn on my light switch and it doesn't work, whether it's because of a planned outage or whether it's because we have extreme weather. I think we need to lean into how do we mature the social licence dialogue to help communities understand not just what the benefit is in for them.
But I think in terms of energy security, the bigger picture is how do we get enough new generation and storage into the system. It's understanding those development and delivery risks, but ultimately we're talking about billions of dollars of capital and making big investment decisions. And you have to have, once you've worked through all of those development and delivery risks, you've got to have comfort that, or you have to give comfort to debt and equity that there's revenue certainty. And I think that's one of our challenges. We've got more traditionally, we've had the PPA market, the power purchase agreement market, which is effectively a contract for difference market, giving certainty on price but not on volume. That might give you 10 or 15 years, but on assets that have a technical life of 35 years, there's a big question of, how do you think about revenue certainty beyond that? And also customers are thinking differently about what they want from an energy agreement today. They're wanting more shape. So I think that's one aspect that's leading us to think differently about how we contract.
So we need to be thinking about this systematically, and the answer is yes, but the system is made up of lots and lots and lots and lots of details. We took a big step forward as a country last year in setting a 2035 emissions reduction target. It was, or range, it was reasonably strong, probably not as strong as the science says that we need to get, but strong on a kind of international basis. And then underneath that target there's the sector plans, which are a work in progress, getting better. That's very useful. Those are good coordination mechanisms. But then at the next level down, you've got all of the kind of detail that these guys are kind of hitting all the time of land use planning, social regulations and practices and that allow you social licence. You've got policies that are under debate at the moment, like the capital gains tax and potentially, punching the ticket of international investors. All of those little details matter and need to sit within that coordinated framework of the sector plans and the target. And the sector plans, need to work in concert as well.
The network is more and more complex than it's ever been. As we move to dispersed renewables, there are, in Victoria now we have 50 transmission connected customers. A few years ago that was just a handful. We have higher peak demand, higher low demand, less system strength as coal exits. just keeping the lights on today is keeping many people busy repairing faults, balancing the grid in control rooms from our EMO to ours down the street. It is incredibly complex and technical, and we are privileged to have many people who've worked their lives in the sector and who can tell us how to best sequence jobs to work on the network to maintain system security. We need to look at the technical standards and performance requirements of new load connecting. So particularly data centres are getting so big now that they can have a significant impact on the network. They offer a lot of opportunity, but we need to be very clear on what the requirements are to protect the grid as well, and maybe even have data centres provide some services to the grid, such as minimum system load. And then finally, I'd just say, as we have more and more players on the grid, more and more connection points, more and more operators of assets that connect into each other, it is one big ecosystem. It's important that we have a single operational view and very clear operational authority and accountability, so that we can deal with both planned and unplanned events and make sure we keep the grid stable and secure at all times.